Welcome and welcome back, everybody. Tabletop Toki here, and in today's video, I'll be going over my board game plays from May 2024. So we're here doing it live, and this was a pretty great month overall. Some other months this year, I kind of fell behind a little bit, but I was able to get 153 plays in. So we're just gonna kind of jump into it, and if there are games that you guys want to hear more about or see more pictures of and things like that, I can pull them up here. So the number one played game this month is Fuji Flush, and this is a card game from Freedom and Freeze. It's like a card shooting game where you're trying to get rid of all the cards in hand, and they're numbered from 1 through 20. Or 2 through 20, sorry, with the lower numbers having a couple numbers, and then the higher numbers like 19, 20, only having one card each. When you play cards, you are going to then compare them to all the other cards that other players have played previously. And if you play a card of a higher value, those cards get flushed and you have to redraw a card into your hand. So the trick with this one is basically that when you play cards like a 2, objectively is just going to be the worst card, right? But when you play a card that another person has, they actually bind together. So if multiple people, if 4 people, for example, play 2s, they all bind together and now they're 8s. And that can help you like flush or push your cards without redrawing a little bit better as well, depending on who you team up with. So it's got some kind of semi-cooperative vibes to it, which I'm usually not a huge fan of, but it works out really well. It's a really fun party game. I first got to try it at a local convention, and we played it a couple times at that convention, and then eventually I was able to get a copy, and so we've played it quite a bit since. Always flush your 2s. Yeah, it's hard not to. If you have a bigger group, it's a little bit easier because you could get up to 8 people playing, which means they would be, 14, 16, but it really just depends. So this has been a really fun one to be able to explore this month. Another game that I played a lot of is our Mystica Foundation deck. So this is currently actually on Kickstarter. And actually, let me see really quickly. I need to turn off the cursor. Done. All right, good. So Mystica is a deck of cards, basically, not like a standard deck, but a deck of cards that you can use with different systems. And so I released a solo party video just the other day on one of the modes, which is Cave of Jinn, which we can see here. So these are like the typical cards, the numbered ones. They have a number, one of the 3 suits, and then they'll have a delineation of if they're like a creature or location or what have you. And there are certain little mini expansions, like this one, for example, adds the Jinn cards to create a solo puzzle. But there are a variety of different games that you can play with the decks, between 1 to 4 players with the base game, and then with one of the expansions artifacts that's currently out, you can also play up to 6 players, I believe. So there's a lot of different variability there in terms of what you can do with those cards, which I think is really cool. It's something that I really appreciate about certain designers or certain games, and this one so far, all the modes have been really fun. Another game that I got to try for the first time finally this month is Galdor's Grip, which is an in-hand solo game with a few expansions. Right now, the print and plays are available, but I do believe that there is going to be a published copy at some point, maybe soon. I did hear that it got picked up, but waiting to hear an update on that. And this is similar to, if you are familiar with Palm Island, is probably maybe one of the most mainstream popular in-hand solo games where you have cards that you're going to be rotating and flipping and cycling through. So this one is really interesting, looks gripping, yep. And I got to play it quite a few times already, and I've been really enjoying it. I have yet to play through with some of the mini expansions, so I'm also looking forward to trying some of those probably this coming month. certainly want to get your hands on it. Hey, nice with the puns. Another brand new game that I played, there were so many new games that I played this month, is Newsboys from Sashi and Sashi. This game I was very skeptical about because I will be honest and say that although I love Sashi and Sashi, I am not the hugest fan of Let's Make a Bus Route. Of the roll and write games that I own and really enjoy, that is not necessarily one of my top picks. So I was a little skeptical seeing that this was also a roll and write / flip and fill, because it is indeed both, but this one is actually so good. So in addition to having these cards that everybody is going to be able to pull symbols from each round, you also have your own personal set of dice that you can put your luck with, and you get up to 1 reroll. So you're trying to get matching symbols of different colored blocks to be able to set up different combos. You're also keeping track of your income and going on strike. So there are a lot of little elements here that are really cool. This one honestly just feels kind of like a German style roll and write game where you're crossing off certain sections and setting up combos, which I was not necessarily anticipating when I first, saw the game, but I really enjoy those mechanics. So this has been a really fun one. And yes, I did just get this one like a week or 2 ago, but we've already played it so much. And I did have a first play before my copy showed up because one of my friends purchased it, and that's what incentivized me to then get my copy after we played it together. Yeah, so this one's been hitting the table a lot, and I'm anticipating putting a solo party video out on it because it's just so good. And again, the combination of the flipping of the cards and the rolling of the dice to cross out and fill in is something that I haven't necessarily seen before, so that's been really exciting. Also got to play Hanamakoji a few times, Harmonies, which I am currently working on a solo party video for. Got to play that at 4, at 2, and solo as well. So that's been really fun. Hunting Mining Colony 415. I was able to get a copy of this. I have Kobayashi Tower, and then last month I was able to pick up a copy from our sponsor, Noble Knight. So they definitely have a wide range of games there, including a lot of solo games. If y'all haven't already checked them out, there's a link down in the description of every video. They're phenomenal, and any purchases you make after you click that link help support the channel directly, so feel free to peruse that at your leisure. But Hunted is this particular one I was very interested in. I know there's a new one called Wood Ridge, but this one I really liked the idea of because it has a dexterity element to it where you put these alien cards inside of the box, and then you're flipping these little tokens to try to get them in the circle or in the square if you're playing on hard mode. So it's really interesting. We're like tossing the tokens rather. It's something that I don't see a lot of in solo games, and I personally love dexterity games. So this is a really cool combination of those things that I love, but in a solo format, which again is not super typical. So this one's been really fun as well, and I'm thinking about potentially making a video just for this one too. Although I have to say I'm not very good at it. Another game that I had a first play of is Lime. This is one of like the OG solo tiling 1 to 2 player, everybody gets their layout kind of games. And on top of the square cards, which are the tiles, you're actually going to be placing meeples, which will score different types of regions. So you can kind of tell that it's an older title just based on the graphic design and maybe the theme a little bit, but it was really satisfying. I played it 3 times in a row back to back at that convention. Like everybody was wrapping up and going home. It was like 1 a.m. And I thought, they're technically open till 2. And I saw a copy of this on the demo shelf. I've never gotten to play it. I've never held a physical copy of this game in my hands because it's so hard to get here and it's very out of print. But I was super excited to be able to play it. And I would definitely recommend giving it a try. It's very much inspired a lot of other solo games like it. Like Orchard and Grove come to mind from Mark Tuck, and a lot of other things like Circle the Wagons or even Sprawlopolis have kind of built on this. So as far as I know, this is one of the OGs. There were probably ones before it, but this is this one's pretty prominent. As far as my favorite dexterity game goes from the chat, It's hard to say. There are a lot. I really love Flip Ships from King Clanko. It's a cooperative dexterity game, but I would have to think Rafter 5 I've really been enjoying lately. I put a video out on that recently. There are a lot of really good ones. Joe Poulter's been really fun too, but that's probably a little bit of recency bias. We'll see. Speaking of other new games, man, almost all of these are new so far. I got to play Bosa, which was a gift from one of the dear members of our channel. This is a card drafting, tiling game where you're going to be building up different shops, which create an engine. So as you place these buildings into your city, you're going to be able to trigger either the row or the column of cards that you've previously placed in order to convert resources into points or gain resources and different abilities. So it's a really quick little engine builder with some drafting. You have unique scoring objectives, which make each game feel pretty unique. And it is one of the most streamlined, easiest games to teach, but how you put out your cards and how you have to run your engine each turn just makes for some really interesting choices. So this is one that I've really been enjoying. And again, tried it at 2 players, have tried it at 5 players, and it plays great across the board. The only thing is I wish it kind of had a solo mode, because this is one I would definitely want to make a video on because it's just so concise. But we'll see if that ever comes to fruition. Some other plays of games, Bubbly Pop, Cat in the Box, Colorado, a lot of new games on BGA recently, which may be coming up, or maybe that's this month, I'll have to check. But Cat in the Box is now on BGA, so we got to try that out. First Cross Dragonheart. Another new one is Fiction from All Play. So this is kind of like Wordle, but with a hidden trader. So basically, let's see if we can find a good picture here. Yeah, this one's not the greatest. So you have a 5-letter word that you're given, or you get to choose from a sheet of words. Oh, here's a better picture. Okay. And then the team, it's 1 versus all. The team is going to guess the letters. You're going to put in tokens indicating which letters are in the right spot, which letters are correct but in the wrong spot, or which letters are just not included in the word at all. The twist is that the librarian, L-I-E, is trying to trick the team by lying about a single letter in each of the different guesses. And I wasn't sure how this one would play out, but it was super fun, both playing as the librarian and as part of the different team members. So I was intrigued by the concept, wasn't 100% sold on whether the execution would come to fruition or not. But upon playing it, I am very pleasantly surprised that it was even more fun than I had anticipated. Fiction is a great game. Librarian or team to win more. So I just got this one. We only got to play it the 2 times back to back. I played as the librarian first, and they won, I think, on one of the last guesses, maybe the 8th guess. And then when I played on the team, I think we won on maybe the 7th-ish guess. So it was close both times. But yeah, I'm sure with more plays I'll have more data on that to see. Have you found that a particular one is easier to play or wins more? Oh, and then there's also more challenging modes that you can put in too to make it more challenging for the guessers. So we didn't try any of those. We just did the basic game with no double letters or difficult words or anything, or less time. So it would be interesting to see, because there are those balancing mechanics as well, depending on the team and the composition of the group. Some other games played, First in Flight. Y'all know I love that game so much. Hive Pocket and Vino Morte. I got a first play of Innovation, which is a Carl Chigick game. I really enjoy Motenai, which is another one of their games. And Innovation is one of the OG, again, 2010 games. Where you're building engines of different cards, and if you have symbol majorities, or if you have symbol majorities when other players trigger that symbol, you'll get a benefit as well. This was one that I've always been interested in. I've just never gotten to play it. I don't have a copy of it, but being that it's on Board Game Arena, a friend of mine taught it to me, and it's very fun. In fact, I just played it again last night because I really enjoy it. Is it the most beautiful graphically designed game? No, but the mechanics are super solid. I haven't gotten to try any of the expansions though yet, so I'm interested in getting my hands on those and getting to try that out sometime soon, hopefully. Only started playing, and this is for fiction, but felt pretty hard to pull off the librarian. Yeah, you have to be really careful about which letters you give away and which ones you lie about each round. But I found it to be a really interesting puzzle, and there were times where I felt like I had a combo of 3 letters in a row where it was just like, man, I feel really clever for how I engineered that. So although I ultimately didn't win, I felt like I did a pretty good job, and it was very fun to think through that. Yeah, it's not the prettiest game, but very fun. Conan the Librarian skit. Ooh, I'll have to check that out after. Okay, we played Ito again because, you know, it's just one of those great games. I also got to play Gnar for the first time, which is a little engine building set collecting game. This one I was also a little bit skeptical about when I first saw people posting about it, just because it looks really pretty and I don't know. But it's actually super fun. So you're collecting the same set of colored cards, and every time you do that, you trigger all of that colors abilities, mostly resource gathering. You can trade them in then for the landscapes up top, which you can then use bracelets to trigger all of your landscapes, columns, or some of them. You can also gain reputation, which just gives you point income from round to round, and it's pretty cool. It uses similar mechanics to Stellar and Sebastral, which are card drafting games, where the color card that you draft dictates the color card that you play, excuse me, dictates from the board which color you take from which column. And there are certain resources, helmets namely, that allow you to change that. But like if you play a yellow card, then you're going to take the card in that second yellow column into your hand for future plays. So there's a lot of little things going on in this one that just really came together quite nicely. So I was very pleased with that. I'm definitely going to have to pick up a copy soon here. Hey, thanks for joining. Oh, thank you. Yeah, and of course, I love talking about games. So if there are any games you guys have questions about or different things, just let me know. That's why we're here. And I'm glad we're finally able to like start doing some of these monthly plays live, because I just think that makes it so much more interactive. Did I pronounce the K in which one? That was super great. Really liked it. Kmart, a store? Wait, Gnar? Oh, Konar? Isn't it just Gnar? All right, so I also had a first play of L-Gretto, which is a speed game. So you have numbered cards that you're collectively putting out, and you're trying to go out first by getting through your L-Gretto stack. It's very similar to Dutch Blitz if you've played that, which I had fun with, but L-Gretto's a little bit more streamlined because you're not playing like solo solitaire where you're trying to order your own cards. You're just putting them out as quickly as you can onto stacks. So it's a super fun one. And if you have all 3 sets, so like I got the green set, but there's a red and blue set, you can play with up to 12 players. So a buddy of mine and I ordered some sets from the UK, and they should be here relatively soon, hopefully, so that we can play at a higher player count. You're supposed to pronounce the K in Knar? Whoa, all right. Somebody will have to let me know if that's legit. I have not gotten to play Thunder Road yet, unfortunately. And let's see. So that was L-Gretto. Another first play, oh my gosh, so many, of Macaron, which is a trick-taking game from a designer, Tate Wu. This one is so freaking cool, and it's got a solo mode that I haven't gotten to try yet, but I'm very excited to. So you have different macaron flavors, and each round players are going to vote or select which flavors are the royal flavors, meaning that they're the trump suits, and which players are the allergen, meaning that if you win a trick with an allergen, you don't get to score a box of macarons, which is if you see the middle board, that's how you're going to determine how many points you get. You can also make a wager of how many boxes you think you'll finish by the end of the round to gain more or less points. And there's some really cool things, like one of the things I enjoy is that the twos, while they're not the highest valued card, I know, I'm so sorry. Public shame. I deserve it. Thank you. But while you, if you play a 2, which is not a great value card, 2s actually cancel out allergens, so they can work really well. And if you win a trick with a 1, which is, again, the lowest value card, you actually get to make 3 boxes instead of just 1. So there's some pretty clever things even within the rounds, and then just the setup of wagering and betting and voting on which flavors count as which things. It makes for some really interesting gameplay, especially for a trick-taking game. I've been on kind of a kick of a lot of trick-taking games and card-shedding games lately, which we're about to see, I think, here coming up. So Macaron's really cool. I'm hoping again that I can get it to the table solo sometime soon. And let's see, Masters of the Renaissance, wonderful game. Oh Meow Bao is another new game. It's a card shedding game, also rebranded as 535. So it's very similar. I'm sure like a lot of people may have played Scout, which is probably one of the more popular card shedding games after it was picked up by Oink Games, at least in the West. But Oh Meow Bao or 535 is another similar type of game, with some slight differences because the cards have inherently different scoring for the ones left in your hand at the end of the round. So yeah, it's a cool one, and I'm kicking myself because I almost ordered it in my Tanuki order that I unboxed the other day, but then I thought, oh, it looks similar to Nitor Dory, so I don't think I need it. But after playing them both, it's different enough that I would like to have both in my collection. So that's probably coming sometime soon. Sunshine Farmer is a really cool roll and write game. Let's see, here's the picture. So you're rolling and drafting dice. It kind of feels like Genshin Clever a little bit, where you get dice of different colors and different numbers, and you're filling in your grid. So that's like your seeds that you're planting. And there's different scoring so there's scoring based on your plots for each different one. And you want to have a low score for that, but you also get a column or row bonus if you have numbers 1 through 6 in a column or row. So that kind of pushes things up a little bit. And then you can get sunshine bonuses by using 5 of a number, which if you see like the kind of not circled, but marked off areas of 4 sections, those are your sunshine bonus, and you get the sum of the numbers in there. So again, that incentivizes you to put some high numbers. There's a store where you can convert some dice. There are some cool combos with filling out a column or row that has that exclamation point where you get a wild. And so it's quick enough, and there's just enough there to make it interesting each playthrough in terms of the different things that you want to go for based on the dice that come up as well. So this one's been really fun, and it's another one that I'm like, man, I feel like I need to get this one now, but we'll see about that. A knife? Oh my gosh, come on, guys. Silent W and sword? Oh, sword? Yeah, that sounds weird. Let's see, other new games. I did play Trio again, but that was my copy of Nana. I mean, technically they're kind of the same game, so they have the same entry. Vegetable Stock is another small market manipulation card game that's pretty fun. So each round, everybody drafts one of the vegetable cards for sets, and whichever one is not taken bumps up the pricing on the vegetables that are shown. And if they get all the way to the top, that market crashes, and then they'll be worth potentially no points, or they have to start over for scoring. So this is just like a really quick little market manipulation game. I mean, because of the theme and because of how straightforward it kind of is, it feels, I would say, somewhat similar to Point Salad, but this one has that aspect of the market influences everybody versus you just having your own scorecard. So that's pretty interesting. Let's see, what else? Viking Seesaw. Speaking of dexterity games, this is one of the Eaton Funbrick series games where you're going to try to get rid of all of your components as quickly as possible by stacking them onto the little boats area. So you have different sized and weighted ones. And again, this was a gift. Thank you. So this one's really cool. There were a lot of like stacking balance games, but this one's a true like gauging weights balance game, so kind of the opposite. And it's a really fun one. I'm super glad that I get to play it. And let's see, Antiquity Quest is a Grandpa Beck game that I got to try. I got a copy of that at the board game auction. Arkham Ritual as well. I wasn't a huge fan of it, and I got to play Autumn on a 2-player game day with a friend of mine. Big Top is another one that I don't own, but I got to try out, and it's got some interesting kind of bidding on different cards that help you get a different engine. The thing that I did like about this one is that as you bid on certain cards, you can actually mark off your bids on your other cards to complete them. So like this one in the bottom left, the Ringmaster, they've already made 2 bids, but if I won a card with a bid of 1 or won a card with a bid of 9, I would get to cover those numbers, and then I would be able to score that card. So you're like bidding on the card in order to put it in front of you, and then you have to make those bids in order to complete and score it. Not something that I've seen before. I don't know that it was my favorite game, but it was certainly unique. Oh my gosh, the Knife. Kmart? Does Kmart really not exist anymore? I never thought of that, but like come to think of it, I haven't seen Big Top is legit. Yeah. Use that Viking Seesaw as a paperweight. That'd be an interesting paperweight. Let's see. We got to play Bloody Angel, Bloody Inn, or Black Angel, Bloody Inn. A bunch of really great ones. Let's see. Another new one was Cascadero. This one I enjoyed. I'm not sure about the longevity of it in terms of replayability, but you're basically making routes and trying to score different cities by sending your little messengers there. And it was really interesting. I think I like the aesthetic of the game more than I like the gameplay, if that makes sense. But I did have a really good time playing it. One of the cool things, I'll see if I can find a picture here, is that the score track, you want to land your seals based on the colors of cities that you score at certain points, which will get you benefits. And there are some really cool combos that you can set up where you push one forward, it gives you a benefit that lets you do something, that lets you push another forward, and then you get a benefit. So you can really chain together some cool things. But ultimately, I'm not sure about how much replayability there is. There's another side of the board where instead of designated towns, they have like random tokens that you can get, but like some of the tokens are 2 points, some are 3 points, some are you get to move a cube, and you don't know what they are until you get there. So it feels more lucky than it should be, because the base game without any of that stuff is just perfect information the entire game. So I'm not sure how I would feel about that randomness. I guess you could put the tokens face up so you know what you're competing for, but yeah, there is also Cascadero, which is like a little roll and write version of this, which I would be interested to see what they did with that as well. Let's see. So that was Cascadero. We also had a First Plate of Chicken, which I got from Noble Knights. I've heard that this is similar to Zombie Dice, if not just Zombie Dice, but I haven't played Zombie Dice. So this one is from it's the Scott Alms game from Keymaster Games, and it's just a push your luck dice rolling game where you can wager to roll all the dice from the previous person, or you can give up points to roll less dice. And basically you're trying to roll and re-roll without getting 3 foxes, getting as many chickens as you can, and then the number of eggs that you get hatches more dice that you can then roll as well. So yeah, this was like a pretty fun, quick one. And again, the rules overhead is barely anything, so it plays up to 8 as well. There is an egg expansion, so I would like to pick that up at some point just to see if it adds a little bit more. What else? So many new games. I'm just gonna pick a bunch of the new ones out and set them up because I feel like otherwise I'm gonna miss some stuff. Cinderella's Dance is a 2-player card shedding game. That seems very random. You're literally just trying to get rid of the cards in your hand by playing values 1 through 21, and you have to play a value that's within 3 of the previous player, or you can pass. When I first played it, I thought this is super random, but upon playing it again recently, I have picked up on a couple strategy things that didn't necessarily occur to me. It feels very similar to Tea for Two, the Alice in Wonderland theme game, where it feels like you're just flipping a card and you just have to go with it, but there are some cool decisions about when you decide to play and when you decide to hold on to cards and which cards you play in which order based on what the other players played. So it was surprisingly deeper than I thought it would be upon my first play, and I'm super glad that I randomly found a copy. Oh my gosh, there's so much hey in the chat, y'all. Deep Frag is another new one that I got. I unboxed it on stream the other day. I've only gotten to play it solo so far. I haven't tried any of the 2-player cooperative or competitive stuff, so I'll reserve speaking about it until I have a little more info. Dust Fighters is a super cool 2-player like battle card game. You just have your cars out in a line and you're trying to destroy all of the other players' convoys, cars in their convoy. So each car will have a different effect, and you can either move a car on your turn as one of your actions, or you can activate one of your vehicles. I really love the aesthetic of this game. This isn't a card from the game, but I think it has the closest, from what I see here, color match to the actual cards and what have you. But the aesthetic's just really cool. The game is super easy to learn. Most of the interactions are on the cards themselves, so as long as you have a basic command of, the English language, it's a really easy one to get into. And yes, I played this, but not Thunder Road, because this was like $12. Thunder Road is considerably more expensive. This also takes only about like 5 to 10 minutes to play, and Thunder Road is a lot more, and a lot more rules overhead. But this is a super cool one. I highly recommend it if you're in the market for a cool, quick 2-player game. Fish Tank is another new one that I got to try. It's a drafting game where you're putting your fish out in the grid. It was all right. It's not my favorite, but it wasn't bad. Let's see, what else did we have? Game of Thrones Hand of the King was one that I hadn't played before and got to try. That was somewhat interesting. It's a Bruno Cathala game, and it's just moving cards to rows and columns and taking sets. It weirdly felt similar to Longhorn, which is another game of his, with how you move your token and how it sets up the next player for set collections. That was interesting. Inside was just a party game, kind of, where you're putting out cards and telling you have to tell at least one truth, and then you can tell, you get three cards, and they are supposed to inspire a particular type of memory that's selected by the other players, and you make up stories that relate to you. One of the stories has to be truth, and then the other 2 are up to you. So, and then everybody else has to vote on whether they think that story you told was true or false based on the criteria. It was a really interesting getting to know you game. I don't think it would hit well with every group, but with our group, it was really fun to be able to play through and learn a little bit more about each other. Lacuna is another 2-player game that I got to try out. Let's see, are there other? I'm just gonna click all the new ones so I don't forget any of these. And then there's like one game on the second page, so we'll get to that last, the mystery game. I think that's all the new ones. Okay, so Lacuna, 2-player game. You just shake out all the little flowers onto the board, and then you're placing things to try to get them in lines between colors, and then in the second half, it's whichever flowers are closest to your player pawns, you'll get to score those. It reminded me weirdly of Bosque, which y'all know I'm not a huge fan of Bosque, but this one was a little bit more, felt a little bit more strategic, I don't know, and it was more abstract and streamlined than Bosque, so I appreciated that. I'm not sure that this is one that I need in my collection, but it was really interesting to be able to try it. I also had a first play of Obsession. I know. I had been told over and over again that I needed to play this game. And I had a friend teach it to me on Board Game Arena. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not sure that it was my favorite. I think I'm gonna have to play it more to really see, but even though there were some mechanics that felt a little unique, it kind of felt, with like the tiles that you acquire, similar to something like Suburbia, but with some hand management. And I know it says it's worker placement, or does it even say that? Actually, let's check. It doesn't say worker placement. So good, because I was gonna say you have workers, but it's not a worker placement game. Your workers are basically just a resource that cycles through, kind of like mana in Terra Mystica, if I'm remembering that correctly, where you like use certain colored workers to activate cards, and then they go into your pool and you have to wait for them to get back around. And that's kind of how the cards work too. Like you use your cards until you rest and reset and get them all back. I don't know. It seems like there are some interesting combos that you can set up. We just played the base game and not any of the expansions, but there was nothing about it on a first play where I was immediately gripped. And that was what I was kind of expecting based on what a lot of other people had said. It is in the BGG top 100, probably. Rank overall 62. So I don't know. I'm going to have to look into that a little bit more, I think. Thematic 20. Wait a minute. Does that mean that it's got high ties to theme or low ties to theme? Oh, wait, what? Y'all, am I reading this correctly? Thematic rank, that means games that are closest in theme to their gameplay. Is that accurate? Requires you to speak in a haughty British accent and wear top hats. See, that's what I've been told some people do, maybe, or like have tea with it, but I was playing it on Board Game Arena. So from a purely mechanical standpoint, I'm a little, wow. Wait, is this real life? Y'all, this is blowing my mind right now. Or is this just like thematic rank? Hold on. Does it? I'm gonna have to look at that later. That is wild to me if I'm understanding what this list is correctly. Oh my word. SkyTeam makes sense. I've never piloted a plane, but it does feel stressful and probably like you're piloting a plane. Some of these other ones though, okay, I'm gonna save this for a different video. My word. Why is Nemesis so low? I don't know. Couldn't say it. I have not played it, so interesting. I have some thoughts about that. We'll just file that away. Pury Summoners. This was sent to me by Mokumo. There should be a video coming up pretty soon here, as the Kickstarter is going up on the 11th, so next week, in 1 week from now exactly. And it is a really cute little kind of pattern making area control game where you're placing cards out to try to summon different colored spirits from your hand. The drafting system and the token system is interesting because you spend tokens to manipulate cards or get certain cards or advantages, but if you surround certain players' pawns with particular cards of like a higher rank in terms of the elements, then you can steal tokens from them. And when you summon different cards from your hand, you're going to get tokens as well. That's like the quick and dirty of it. It's maybe at higher player counts, not the most strategic game. But at like 2, for example, there are some cool choices that you can make and things that you can do to kind of bluff based on the colors that you're going for, that maybe weren't apparent on a first playthrough. But again, I'll have a better overview of that in the preview video for the Kickstarter coming soon. Not played Nemesis, I know. Tell me some other games. You want me to just go through the list? I've never played Terraforming Mars. I could go for days. In the Discord we were talking about today, I've never played Dominion. Like, what am I even doing here? Do I even play games? I don't know. Savernaki Forest. I wasn't a fan of this one, I'm gonna be honest. So do I play games? I played this one, but oof, yikes. Nah. This is a Devere game. This is probably a better picture. So this one is a tile laying game where you're trying to connect certain animals with their symbols that they score of like the food that they eat. I'm gonna be honest, it was whatever. You have special powers based on what column you pull from, like getting dens so they can store more food, or boosting points for certain things, or being the first player, or what have you. It's very cute, but honestly, it was very boring. And the powers kind of felt like, whatever, okay, cool. There's pretty clear strategy on what the best things to kind of do are based on the cards that are out. And I wasn't impressed. So there's that. Also, yep, haven't played War of the Ring. Yeah, 100%. Honestly, I haven't actually played any of these games, guys. I'm just making it up. This is all improv. Sirens is another game that I got to play. I unboxed this one on stream the other day. It's a 1 to 2 player drafting game where you're building a set of cards, which is your song. Over in the Discord, we broke down into a whole discourse about oh, whoa, I didn't realize that the reference card has the start of your song with a little siren singing it out. Cool. I never made that connection with the art. But talking about like ancient Greek music and the validity of whether this particular game captures that with how the music plays out and what it actually sounds like. But that's like nothing about the actual gameplay itself. There are some interesting scoring objectives. The solo mode I found to be really challenging. That might have just been because I'm new to it, but I'll have to play again to see. But it was not even close. But I got to play this at 2 players again more recently, and that was really fun as well. And it felt like more of a fair fight. So there was that too. Let's see, Terraforming Mars kind of sucks. Yep, that's fair. I mean, I'm sure it was great for the time that it came out, perhaps, because hold on. Oh, I'll just type it in here. When did it come out? I can't spell. I'm sure it was great for its time, and I know it's inspired a lot of games since 2016. Not super old. That's about when I got into the hobby. So yeah, this playtime, I've heard horror stories about it taking like 3-4 hours plus, which is just kind of a no for me. And with how bloated it sounds, it's just one that has not appealed to me. I have played Ares Expedition, which was all right, and I would assume that it's just a condensed down version of Terraforming Mars that's a little bit more updated and clean. But yeah, it's not one that I've played. It's not one that I'm really interested in playing. So yeah, love engine building, but enough is enough at some point. In the top 100, yep. Terra Mystica came out years before Terraforming Mars and does everything better. Yeah, that's the thing too, is like there are so many games that have been made since that are better, but there are also games that were made before that have stood the test of time, perhaps a little bit better as well. I haven't played a whole lot of Terra Mystica, but I did enjoy that. Terraforming Mars looks like something I would not enjoy. So, you know, there's that. Soulless Lost I played on stream the other day during the day 2 of unboxing streams. This one felt very random. It's a cool concept, and I think it could be used, you know, maybe with a different card selection system, or as part of like an RPG, or like if you're playing it just for kind of the story aspect of it, that's great. But mechanically, I think there are some games that kind of did this kind of idea of like going through your deck, pulling events, a little bit of combat resource management, a little bit better. So yeah, there's that one. Lovely Arc Nova. Yeah, Arc Nova, I don't know. I know it uses the same scoring as like Rogers the Ganges and uses a lot of different stuff. I think it comes together okay, but again, for me, the amount of cards feels very not great. And if you add the expansion in, I know there's a mechanic to kind of shuffle out more cards more quickly, but I don't know. That was not my experience with playing with everything for it so far. So yeah, I um, it's not my favorite. Stone Spire Architects was another one that I tried. I'm a huge fan of role player, a huge fan of cartographers. This one I wasn't sure about because it's like tiling, and I prefer flip and fill cartographers. But it did add some interesting elements. So, you're going to be drafting different dungeon cards to form a 4x4 grid. There are unique scorings that you get every round. You're going to be collecting gold, which is income that you use to purchase tokens that you can then place on cards. And based on how quickly you pass on purchasing different things, you can get scoring objectives before other players. I liked the concept of this game, but I think it was way too fiddly for me. If they had an app version or a digital version, I feel like I would enjoy that quite a bit because the puzzles were pretty fun, but just the having the unique cards that you need to put out each round, having the gold tracker that you need to use, having the tokens that you have to put out for drafting each round as well. There was just like one too many little things that you had to manage on a physical level. And again, that's not the end of the world, but for me, I would rather spend the time playing the game versus doing a lot of setup and maintenance at the beginning or in between rounds. So I'm glad I got to play it. I don't think I'll be buying a physical copy of it, but if somebody wanted to play it, I would be open to playing it again. Let's see. And then we have Taunton. This is a dice placement game with some shared like victory conditions. It's got a couple of different modes: cooperative, competitive, advanced modes. This is one that I will be making a preview video for. The designer, Chris, reached out to me about it, and I really love dice games. I think the theme is really cool. It's about Swedish gnomes working to prepare for St. Knut's Day. Or do you pronounce the K? Is it Knut or Knut? Anybody? But this is a really cool one, and like I said, I won't talk about it too much right now because there will be a full video coming out closer to when the Kickstarter drops for this one. So be on the lookout for that. And we have our final game that will be coming up here. Oh, I did get to play Tiger and Dragon from Oink Games. Hold on, let's pull this up because I've heard, I can't think of who, but it seems like the reception of this game was pretty great. And usually Oink games are pretty solid, but I'm gonna be honest, I might just be dumb. This game sucked. I did not like it. You're putting out different numbers, and then people are trying to block. So I guess it's kind of like a shit. But you were using tiles instead, but then you can block with certain numbers or defend or what have you. I don't know. The scoring was a little bit convoluted for what it was, and it felt very limiting with the tiles that you get dealt and how you can interact with other people's tiles and react to what they do. Maybe there's some big part of the strategy that I'm just missing out on, but it was not a pleasant experience. In fact, I don't think we even finished playing a full go through of the game. It just wasn't for me, I suppose. Let's see, back in the chat. First and second Ark Nova game took over 2.5 hours. Ooh, yeah, that's a little rough. The first time I played Ark Nova, to be fair, at 3 players with only one person who had played like once or twice before, even with teaching, it was still sub 2 hours. So I guess it might depend on who you play with too, and like which cards come out and which scoring things come out. But yeah, most Oink games are made for the masses. Yeah, I mean, there have been quite a few that I really enjoy, like Raptor 5 and Joe Poulter that I mentioned earlier, I really enjoy. But again, those are very niche markets in terms of the like them being like dexterity or speed games. Insider's pretty fun for just like a hidden rule word game. Startups is a really cool market manipulation card collecting game, I will say, and I feel like there are a couple others. Durian is a freaking banger. I love that one. Bluffing. But yeah, there's also, hold on, I'll pull it up because I can put this out to y'all. Oh gosh, what is it called? Actually, let me just look up the publisher. There's another one coming out with like a hippo on the cover that is, again, a game that they picked up from a different designer. I forgot the original name and I forgot the new name, but it looks pretty interesting. Where is it? Fafnir is pretty fun too, and I freaking love Heyo, the timed cooperative or team versus team game. Where is the new one? Y'all know what I'm talking about? I was mad because I saw it after I did my Japan order, so I didn't get a copy of it, but I'm interested to pick it up when it comes out here. Do they not have it on here? Zuli, this one, but their version is called something else, Moving Wild. Yeah, I'm not sure entirely if anybody's tried this or, you know, what have you, but it looks like it could be fairly interesting. I'm not sure. This is one that's definitely on my radar. So I'll have to report back on that once it's out here in the States and I get a copy. Closed drafting, hand management, melding and splaying, and set collection. Interesting. And yeah, here's the original Zuli. It looks very like preschool, which is cute, but yeah, the Oink version, they definitely went with a different graphic design on it. So we'll see what happens with that. Ooh, GameCrafter has some huge sales coming up. I will definitely be looking at that for sure. If you know of any really good ones, send them my way. All right, and the last game, Nitor Dory. So this is another card shedding game. And this one I was intrigued by because of the artwork. And I can even pull up the rules here. The rules are super streamlined. And I'll be talking more about this one in an upcoming video for sure. Not a solo video, different video. But basically, it's just like you play a card or set of cards that has a higher strength or larger group than the previous cards. And then you can either discard those or put them into your hand. And again, the goal is to get rid of all the cards in your hand. So the rules are literally, these are literally the rules. But it has a lot more depth of strategy than I anticipated. I just thought, you know, pretty card shedding game, why not? It's pretty cheap. But yeah, it was actually surprisingly really fun. We've played it quite a bit since then, and I'm looking forward to playing it even more. It is also based on or similar to a card shedding game called Hachi Train, and it uses the same combinations of cards as Hachi Train does. So some people have used this deck to play Hachi Train. I've heard, and some people prefer that, some people don't. I don't know. I haven't tried those alternate rules yet necessarily, but it's something that I will be interested to try. So yeah, and the art is just gorgeous. I think the theme is really cool, and this is probably one of the only card shedding games that I feel like the theme is prominent, because with a lot of those games it's just very abstract, like get rid of cards from your hand, make sets. But this game's theme is that you're an usher at the Peach Palace, where all the birds got together for like a ball, and you're helping them find their friends, so trying to get them together in your hand, and then sending them home, so playing them to the middle of the table. And whoever isn't able to guide all their guests home by the end of the round becomes the foolish guide. So I don't know. I just think that that's such an interesting way of incorporating theme into a card shedding game. It's not something that I've really seen before. And I think that the gameplay itself as well is really fun. And even if you get out in a round where you've gotten rid of all your cards, it ramps up pretty quickly, and it's fun to just kind of see. It's always like a nail biter between those last two players of who's going to be able to get their last cards out first. So yeah, that was a really fun one. Overall, it's been a pretty awesome month for games. A lot of new games for sure, some old favorites on there as well. A lot of that is thanks to being able to play some new games at the convention, in the play to win section, and the demo library, meeting some new friends who have some cool games, and also like orders from Noble Knight again. They were just freaking awesome, and it's been awesome being able to have a little bit more freedom to select a wide variety of games to be able to share with y'all on the channel, and then those orders of Japanese or Japanese designed games that we did the unboxings for. So Yeah, lots of fun stuff. Ooh, ordered from Noble Knight today. That's awesome. I'm looking forward to hearing what you ended up getting in your order. So yeah, if you have been playing any fun stuff, let me know down in the comments below if you're watching this after. If you have any recommendations for games that I should be trying out this coming month, I'm hoping to keep that streak up of playing regularly and getting 100+ plays this month. So yeah. Ooh, got Cosmic Encounter. Yes. That one I have played. But anyway, I think that's about all the time we have for today. So, if you are watching now, thanks so much for being here. If you're watching in the future, thanks for being here. And I'm looking forward to more board game goodies this month. Got some fun videos planned and what have you. So it should be a great time. Thanks so much as always for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye.